I don't know if that number's right, but it's pretty
Mr.
close.
President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who is highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched, or somebody psychs you over at ABC, they're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. And I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman here. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax. And ABC's, your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep, the fund guy, was with him all the time. What's his name?
Reid Hoffman.
Who? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You got to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Don't ask mean questions, guys. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Syriana Analysis. I'm your host, Kevork Almassian. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's special live stream with our friend Chris Rossini. He's a senior fellow at the legendary Ron Paul Institute. Chris, it's a really pleasure to have you today with me, and I'm honored that you accepted this invitation.
Oh, well, the honor is mutual. Thank you, Kevork.
Thank you so much, really. And thank you guys for tuning in to today's stream, whether you're watching this on YouTube, on Rumble. I appreciate every single one of you. Today's episode is definitely controversial, and many of you have lots of questions about the Epstein files and what he has really done in the past and what type of intel operations he was weaving basically among different countries, and not only in the US. The other day I have done an entire stream how Jeffrey Epstein was conspiring with Ehud Barak to open channels in Russia in order to oust the former president Bashar al-Assad. But today we will focus more on the US. As you may know, guys, yesterday on the 18th of November 2025, the US House of Representatives passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act by an overwhelming 427 to 1 vote, marking near unanimous bipartisan support. Just hours later, the US Senate agreed by unanimous consent to pass the bill upon its arrival from the House by passing lengthy debate. Despite this is written in The Guardian, by the way. They say despite long resisting such transparency, the bill's passage coincided with Donald Trump, who previously dismissed the Epstein controversy as Democrat hoax, suddenly signaling his willingness to sign the legislation. The bill requires the U.S. Department of Justice to release all unclassified investigative materials, memos, and communications relating to Epstein, including his ties to political elite. Chris, I'm receiving many questions about this, but one of them is, given Trump's abrupt reversal on the Epstein Files Bill after months of resistance, what does this signal about Trump's political calculus and his vulnerabilities? Does his change of stance reflect weakness or inevitability, or a strategic pivot to control the damage that happened under this conspiracy via Epstein and others?
Yes, well, President Trump has been a massive disappointment when it comes to the Epstein files. His reputation has been tarnished probably permanently because of it, and he must have thought it would be worth it. He has talked himself into a corner that, all it takes is just 2 seconds to think of all the statements that he has made. First off, he ran that he was going to release these files. And then he had a big show with his influencers coming out with binders saying phase 1 of the release of the Epstein files from, and this is the funny part, it says it on a binder, that it was the most transparent administration in American history. So we went from that to all of a sudden, he changed his mind and just stuck with it, that it's a hoax, that it's not going to come out, that there's nothing to see, that Pam Bondi had it on her desk, and all of a sudden there is nothing there. And he totally changed his tune. And his tune made no sense. Even in that clip that you played, he's saying, well, look at the Democrats. Mr. President, are you covering for the Democrats? You're supposedly a Republican. You were going to throw all these Democrats in jail. You're going to prosecute. So all of this time, you're protecting Democrats? Is that what you're saying? Why are you protecting them? Release all of the files. Let it all out. These are Democrats. These are your political opponents. You should be immediately wanting to release these files. But no, he wants to keep it secret because it's all Democrats. So again, he has talked himself into a corner. And thankfully for the persistence and the patience of Congressman Massey, Ro Khanna, they got this done 427-1. Obviously, Congress does not want to put their names on keeping, sexual predators and pedophiles and blackmail. They don't want to defend that, so they had virtually no choice. And it's taking the next step, which everybody's expecting Pam Bondi to now start redacting everything, because apparently she has the ability to do that. And, she doesn't work for the American people. So of course she's going to. She's already proven which side she's on in this battle. So we're all expecting black pages to come out. So, but that's, so it's very disappointing what President Trump has done. He has decided to, and this whole argument, oh, well, President Trump, if Biden would have released it, if something was in there, it doesn't matter if President Trump is guilty or not. He's shielding those who are guilty. That's the problem with President Trump. So, we'll see what happens forward.
Chris, did he change his mind, or they changed his mind? This is something I think probably Donald Trump knows what is in the Epstein's files, or he has been summoned by his advisors. Yesterday, the speaker, Mike Johnson, he claimed that this is a national security issue, and I'm going to just show our audience what he said, because this is very important.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest, and always has rested, with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredibly dangerous to demand that the officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies and intelligence agencies. All right.
So I think this is very telling what he's saying here, and this is a matter of national security as well. And if you ask me, as someone who is a non-American, and if there are people in the Epstein's file who are in positions of power, and we're talking about in the deep state, we're talking about bankers, we're talking about oligarchs, we're talking about people who are private contractors in the military industrial complex in the Silicon Valley. I mean, if these files are released unredacted, it will definitely have a major storm among these corridors of the decision making in the United States. So I'm not, of course, defending Donald Trump, but probably I'm saying from his point of view, like this will be a big earthquake in the political elite and the financial elite in the US, something that could have enormous repercussions on the US stance in the global politics.
Yes, and isn't that what is necessary? You know,
Yeah.
we, the American people, realize that we have no agency in this country. We've lost our sovereignty. We're a major, big nation,
Mhm.
but we've lost our sovereignty, and we've lost it to the oligarchs, to APAC, to we have our foreign policy is Israel. That's our foreign policy and empire. So if we are being ruled by this type of you know, people have all types of names for it, cabal, deep state, whatever you want to call it, then shouldn't that be exposed so that we can maybe gain our sovereignty back, be an independent sovereign nation? It's, you know, the fact that they're using national security, first of all, this excuse has been used to destroy our nation. We've fought wars that are based totally on lies, based on national security. Our national security is dependent on sexual predators and blackmail, and we need that. We have to have that. We can't expose that, otherwise our national, what kind of nation is this? What kind of sick nation cannot punish people that do things that you and I probably can't even imagine in our imaginations what they have done? That has to be protected so that we can be national security. This is what they're telling us. Oh, okay, I guess we have to be ruled by these people. And that means our freedom is gone, dead forever, if we cannot prosecute the worst crimes that the human imagination could come up with. But that's, you know, they're always grasping for, okay, we're going to the next step. How can we wiggle our way out of this? And we can see that redactions in the name of national security is going to be one of the ways.
Chris, one of my criticism for the US political elite, and I've been accused of many things, of being an anti-American, and I'm not at all an anti-American, but I am someone who was personally affected by the US foreign policy. And as much as I examined the people behind the engineering this type of policies, I come to the conclusion that there are just certain type of people who can ascend in the political hierarchy in the US, and you need to have certain characteristics in your as a person. Like, you really have to be a psychopathic, you really have to be a sociopathic, you have to be someone who don't have these feelings towards human beings. Otherwise, how can you excuse the killing of hundreds of thousands of people around the world? And it's like, oops, you know, someone like Hillary Clinton, when they killed Gaddafi, we saw he died, and she's making fun. So you see behind the scenes how these people think about other nations, because they're killing other nations, like killing 500,000 children in Iraq, killing nowadays the war which the CIA started in Syria killed over 600,000 people in Syria. Those are not just numbers, you know. They are not flies, they are human beings. So I'm really sometimes I'm not that hopeless, I'm not that hopeful, let's say, that a change could come in the US, but the type of the debate nowadays we see surrounding the Epstein's file, it should, in my opinion, trigger at least a social pressure from the people in the US demanding their government to release such a thing, because this will have enormous change in not only the people who are in charge nowadays, but probably their mentality. We're talking about pedophiles in positions of power. What could you expect from them when it comes to other people, basically 10,000 kilometers around the world? So do you really see that there is a natural and genuine shift in the public opinion? Because I still feel there is a huge propaganda in the US targeting the American people daily, including my family. I have a big family in the US, and when I speak with them in politics, I feel like, no, these people were sitting in front of MSNBC or something. There's a complete different way of thinking about the global affairs. Is there a genuine shift in the US, or the situation is more difficult as I think it is?
It's both, but I'll start with the good, and that is the campaign that President Trump ran and won on. It was as if Thomas Jefferson was returning
Mhm.
to save us, and that got American people excited because that's what we need, and is the original America, not this America that we live in now. I highlighted the word campaign because as president, he is nothing like as he campaigned. He closed the border. We'll give him credit that. But that's the government's job anyway. I mean, okay, good job. You're finally doing your job again. But that's not the be all end all. It was big
Mhm.
and good, and he gets credit for that, But we have much bigger problems too with the empire, because it is the empire that has bankrupted us. We are, like I said, we don't care. Our government doesn't care about its own nation in the sense that China does, in the sense that Russia does. You see, China has one military base in Africa. They do business with the world, and their country reflects that. We invade the world, and our country reflects it. We're a basket case. Here we're way behind technologically. Our morality has gone in the toilet. It's and that's why it was so exciting because at the same time, all of us Americans have been taught about the old America. That's what, it was freedom, and we're prosperous. We were able to have independent lives. So there's a yearning for that, but we can't have it. Once they get into office, it totally changes. That includes President Trump, especially. Immediately, he's bombing Iran and he even said in his own words, he did it for Israel. I mean, he's basically saying, I'm sorry, but I can't help you guys here at home. I have to do this for another nation. I mean, if he runs around talking about people being traitors, I mean, he's defining himself as such. He's putting
Yes.
another nation in front of his own that he leads. So, the people here are also very, very easy to propagandize into supporting the next, crazy thing that the government wants. And once the campaign wears off, now the people are very easy to manipulate, and that's what always happens.
I think with enough fear, you can always subjugate people and play on their fears and how you can drive them into certain direction. Unfortunately, this works all the time with the majority of people. You can always send them into economic prison. For example, during the COVID times, you're unable to go to work. I mean, you can't go to your business. You can't do anything, basically, if you're not jabbed, you don't have this vaccine passport. They have so much power, in my opinion, on the people. And in my opinion, will increase under the AI world, which is they are trying to create a more smaller government run by AI, basically, but they are doing the job of the people who working in the government nowadays, and was one of the jobs of Elon Musk. I'm very fearful that one day we will rely on AI to govern us, and that would be really the dystopian time that we would live. And unfortunately, guys, one of the people who works for OpenAI, Larry Summers, resigned from OpenAI board amid Epstein revelations. So former Treasury Secretary and Harvard President Larry Summers has resigned from the OpenAI board. He and the company told Axios in separate statements Wednesday amid new revelations about the depths of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. It looks like the people who were compromised by Jeffrey Epstein are everywhere, from AI like into Silicon Valley, into all the financial systems. And this looks like a very, very big operation, like more than what I anticipated. Like they're deeply now entrenched in the system.
Yes. Well, this AI fits perfectly with the rest of the empire story. I mean, this World Economic Forum, the totalitarians are very open about what they want. Now, not everybody pays attention, but we pay attention. So we know that they're very open about what they want. They want total control over the planet. They want all the resources. That's why they want Venezuela next. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves on Earth. Okay, so it's not some mystery as to what they're going after. It's why there's President Trump has continued, again, broke his promise, the war in Ukraine. It's because Russia is the greatest natural resource nation on Earth. So they want to break up Russia and take those resources. Now to the average person, he's Hitler. What are you talking about? They want to, and they tell us you're not going to own anything and you're going to be happy. So if we don't own anything, who does? The empire does, and it sounds like sci-fi Star Wars stuff, but this is what they say, and their actions reflect what they say. So they think that artificial intelligence will be able to run everything. It's the craziest idea, in the world, because it's impossible, in my view, for that to work. And but they're going to pursue it. And they think that if they just integrate this AI, and I have nothing against like the AI that we use, I use Grok all the time. It serves a purpose. It's a tool that could be used for good or for evil. They want to use it for evil. I use it to ask questions, find out information. I use it for good, but they want to use it for evil, thinking that this is our way to be the all-seeing eye, to see everything. But it's not as simple as what goes on in their imaginations, and the vaccine passports were a great example of that. In their imaginations, they thought everybody is going to have to keep getting jabs in their arms, and in order to participate in society, you're going to have to show on your phone that you're up to date. So this was what they concocted in their minds. They were going for it, and it all fell to pieces because it's absurd. So this is the story of what we're up against. They obviously have nothing better to do with their lives. They have all the money they want. So, hey, let's try to take over the whole planet. Maybe that gives them excitement.
I mean, someone like Larry Ellison, the owner of Oracle, he says citizens will be on their best behavior because we are constantly watching and recording everything that is going on. So he's talking about the digital ID. And I'm fearful that this is going to be rolled out soon. One of our commentators say Albania is the first European country to appoint an AI-generated minister to its government, a virtual cabinet members. It's already here. They try in smaller countries first, they do the test there, and then it comes to the US, and then we have a new reality all of a sudden. Speaking of treason, I think this is worthy of mentioning. There was a lot of buzz in the US nowadays, especially surrounding Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she was accused by Trump of being a traitor.
And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people whom...
So, long story short, I think this is the speech that should be normalized, right? There is nothing controversial in what she says. Like she's not only protecting the woman, she's protecting her own country when she says something like this. But she was under fierce attack by Donald Trump. And I think with her accusation of the traitor is those who serve foreign countries, she definitely means one of them Israel in this case.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And our president, hardly a day goes by that he doesn't say that he's the greatest thing for Israel. He went to Israel, bragged about how the Adelsons, how he never lets them down, how they're in his office as president. Our highest officials are always going there, going to the wall, doing all of this stuff, and it's constant. It's not, they did it at the beginning. It's, the New York City mayor was just there. It's a revolving door of which American politician is over in Israel, putting on the yarmulke, going to the wall, and then proclaiming how much they love Israel. And our policies reflect it. This isn't just idle talk. Our policies over the last 50 years at least, but especially since 9/11, reflected. All of our wars since 9/11 have been for their benefit and not for our own. Even though 9/11 happened to us, we went to Iraq, which had nothing to do with it. Why would we do such a thing? And then kill a million
install the
people?
Al-Qaeda regime in Syria.
Yeah, Syria was the latest, and it's all of it. And, Americans have woken up to that. Thanks to the internet, thanks to X, thanks to TikTok, Americans down to the normal person. I have normal people that aren't political coming up to me saying, what is this with Israel? Are we under their thumb? Normal people. So once it reaches that level, that means it is saturated. And that's why they're so afraid, because the cat's out of the bag. Now, what happens next, I don't know. But the cat was never supposed to be out of the bag. But you know what? President Trump has been the main source of it. I mean, if he would just not talk about Israel, maybe people wouldn't, but that's all he wants to talk about and do and serve. And now he's going to be in Gaza heading some kind of peace commission or something, So he's further entrenching our country out there. So, he's actually serving the anti-Israel, he's providing the nourishment for it. It's what our country needs, because it's been hidden for many, many years. Most people would never have even batted an eye. Israel, what's that? Now people are thinking about it. And if your nation is subject to them, that's not good for that relationship.
Yeah. But in the past, I'm old enough to remember that US presidents were careful in their speeches when they speak about the donors and Israel influence in the US. It seems that under Trump is more like it's so blatant, like to your face, inside your eyes, like it's so provocative for ordinary Americans to listen to Trump basically bragging about the Adelsons and how they funded him, and she's Israel first, although she's an American. Like, as you said, he's watering these the anti-Israel trees in the country, and I don't understand what's the logic behind that.
I don't know. It's because I doubt that he's trying to create hatred towards Israel. Maybe he is deep. Only he knows his own thoughts and his own motivations. We could always just guess. We see his actions and then we judge them, but we don't know his motivations. But if deep down, and not even his wife knows, that I'm going to make it so obvious that Israel has a hold on our country, he's accomplishing that. Whether he wants it or not. That's what he's accomplishing. And, but again, nobody could know that but him.
There is a clear shift in the US public opinion, especially on social media platforms. And it seems that the Israeli planners, the PR firms, are very nervous about the shift in the public opinion in the US. Without US, Israel cannot survive in the Middle East. Everybody knows that. So a weakened US is not in the interest of Israel, because Israel is fed on the US support, basically financial and military support. So they need this relationship. But the newer generation, especially after the Gaza onslaught, it's quite clear that the people were like, sorry to say, but what the F? Yeah. What is this? This is a televised mass murder and slaughter of people, and we can see it on our TikTok and on X. So they bought TikTok. nowadays, I reactivated my TikTok just for out of curiosity. This is a test for you guys. Also, you can trust me. You can try this. Go on TikTok and upload any video, and just mention Gaza, Palestine, Israel in your speech, or type it in the description, or simply put it as a layout on the video. Word of Gaza or Palestine or Israel. Your video will be suppressed crazy. Like I have like 12,000 followers on TikTok. Not even 100 people can see the video, reach the video. So this is the level of suppression nowadays, and it's a clear indication, in my opinion, that they are really nervous, and that's why they bought TikTok in order to bring some order, because the people are changing their minds big time. Nowadays, X is still the best place for people to discuss politics, but it's quite clear that Netanyahu himself, he came to the US as a prime minister, sitting in front of influencers and telling them, we have to fight them with our influencers. This is a battle for us. This is not only a war of guns and ammunition. This is a war of words and narratives. So they're recruiting people, paying them money to say the things that they love. But how in your opinion, it is how can Israel change again or reshift this narrative in it? Is it possible that after what we have seen in Gaza, that Israel may persuade Americans to change their mind? Because the new generation are the ones going to come to power sooner or later. Those people are well trained in the NGOs, in public speaking, in universities, etc. Then they will be in positions of power sooner or later. And this is, in my opinion, a very dangerous situation for Israel. Are they able to change this narrative again, or it's too late for Israel?
My hope is that it's too late, because I'm an American and I have seen what our foreign policy has done to our country. And it would be better for Israel, because this is a moral hazard. They have the tax money and the weapons and the soldiers' lives of the American people at their disposal. So when you have that, you are going to act differently than if you didn't have that. You would maybe get along with your neighbors rather than use this big bully across the ocean in America as your bludgeon, for your benefit. But it has destroyed America. These trillions and trillions of dollars and our soldiers' lives and the PTSD that it has caused, and the Veterans Affairs bills, and we have nobody attacks us here in America. Yet I think every day or something, 17 veterans are committing suicide. It's because they were sent into these wars. Who knows what they did or saw, but it's bad enough, that they can't take it anymore. And it was not for our service. America did not benefit. Believe me, I live here. It's not like our armies, it would still be wrong to do so, went across the world and came back with riches. They went across the world, and we're now struggling to survive. 60% of our country is living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, we have been drained, and there's always, Democrats, Republicans. That's a total nonsense to just try to keep Americans fighting with one another. It's what has drained us, what has cost $8 trillion, and trillions more. It's this empire that is not for our benefit. So the American people got not the shortest end of the stick. The shortest end of the stick are all the people that have died from these wars. But the American taxpayer, the American standard of living, we have paid the price for this Israel first foreign policy. And I hope that they're not able to snow the American people into thinking that we should continue this. It has to come to an end.
But the US after 9/11 waged a so-called war against terror, and they spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and elsewhere. They said we have to start a drone war, which thousands of people were also perished because of that. Intel operations, covert operations, coordination, torturing, Guantanamo Bay, name it. And the circle has turned around all the way, and we came back to Syria, which was the last player on this Arab Spring chessboard. And now we install an Al-Qaeda regime in Syria. How can American people swallow the fact that their administration, especially that under Trump in the first term, he said, we don't know who the fuck are these rebels. They want to fly planes in our buildings. Now he's the one shaking hands with the founder of the Al-Qaeda offshoot in Syria, and now they want to normalize him.
Yeah, this is, I have to say, and I'm very pleased about it. A lot of people in my country that are paying attention, there's a lot, are very upset that Al Qaeda visited the White House, was placed in Syria, because the American people have been trained and thought that it's okay to have a surveillance state, to go to the airport and get groped by the TSA, to have get lasered, to make sure that you're not Al Qaeda, because Al Qaeda may be coming. So how many countless, I mean, traveling here is a total, everybody hates dealing with this TSA, but that was placed there to protect us from Al Qaeda. And now we have Al Qaeda in the White House, and we're helping Al Qaeda in Syria. And, so enough, again, it's like talking yourself into a corner like he's done with Epstein. This doesn't add up. You can't have both. But the US government, saying, yeah, you be afraid of Al Qaeda, but Al Qaeda is also our guy. And a lot of people are seeing that and are very upset about it, especially also because we've had troops that have gone overseas to fight Al Qaeda, have died, people have been buried. And now, he's at the White House and he's our guy. Terrible, terrible. And again, this is not in America's interest. This is not for our benefit. This is for empire benefit. And that's, again, the big problem.
Personally, how do you see this war on terror after 9/11? Now that the narrative has completely collapsed about this war on terror, do you see that Al-Qaeda was a useful asset for the United States, or now there is a convergence of interest at the later stage, like in 2025, as you see that regional countries, Turkey and Qatar and Saudi Arabia, probably told Donald Trump, look, we are in charge of this guy, we can control him, let the Syria file for us, just accept him, lift the sanctions, and we will allow American companies to come extract oil and gas and reconstruct the country. This is a big market for your investors as well. And he was like, okay, whatever, if the regional countries can control him, we don't have any problem with him, especially that he wants to open ties with Israel, right? This is another a very important issue. How do you see this war against terror? Was it were the Americans, let's say American administration under George Bush, they were genuine in fighting against terrorism, let's say after 9/11, or they always saw this terrorism as an opportunity for them to increase the military presence outside the US?
Oh, it was a big opportunity. The Patriot Act immediately went through. So now all of a sudden we were attacked, and now the government is going to attack us on top of it. And that's what it has been. The surveillance of our finances, the surveillance of this, surveillance of that. So they capitalized by using the fear of terror to our own government attacks us, so it serves them in that capacity. And this goes back to the Americans. We don't benefit, not only financially are we not, swimming in money from all of these foreign exploits, but our government uses everything to clamp down on us here, us Americans. So we're their victims too, which means that this empire is not nation. It has no loyalty to nation. It's above nation, including the United States, even though we are the funder and we provide the troops and the missiles and all of it. It's not like it's our team. If you're an American citizen, it's not. It's against us too. And this censorship is part of it too. Now, from the government's perspective, they have zero morality. They do what they think will work for them in the moment, and then they'll deal with the consequences later. So they don't care about dictators. They don't care about authoritarians. Oh, there's no freedom in XYZ nation. They don't care about that. They take away our freedom. So it's just an excuse for them to go and get what they want from that nation, including putting a dictator or putting Al Qaeda as the head of that nation. So they don't care. They will just do what will get them the result that they want in the moment, and then they'll deal with whatever the consequence. And there's always consequences. When Bush supposedly won and did his mission accomplished thing.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the wreck of the whole idea. So, and this Gaza, it was such a massive historical crime that this is going to probably reverberate for the rest of our lives. It was so massive, but
Yes.
they wanted to do what they wanted to do, and then they'll deal with the fallout later. Well, so we don't know what the fallout will be, but it'll be something. We know that much.
What one of the most disappointing things for me is not that American officials try to persuade people in their own country and outside the world as it is, but also many people around the world believe in this narrative that the US will bring them freedom, like people in my country, Syria, right? Like Iraq was an open book for them to learn, but they fall for the same trap. And now this Venezuelan Machado, this another clown woman in Venezuela, like that's just recycling the same narrative over and over again, because there is no longer a new script. They are recycling the old ones, and the people, I'm not saying overwhelmingly or majority, but there are people, influential people, cooperating and coordinating with US officials to bring freedom and democracy into their countries, and only to be shocked later that they lost their sovereignty, they lost their economy, they lost their freedom inside their country, because now they are the planners in the US are in charge of their country. So this has happened in my country, and you see people celebrating in the streets, and this is basically breaking for me, people celebrating the demise of their own nation, because they are capable of flipping these the words and the meaning behind the words. Like slavery becomes freedom, indignity becomes dignity, and slavery becomes sovereignty. They can change anything they want, and they can sell the people any concept they like. And this is frightening for me, because had the people really understood why a CIA would pour basically $1 billion per year into the Syrian market to destabilize Syria, why would they spend $1 billion? Like, do they really care that I, Kevork Almassian, sitting somewhere in Aleppo and I lack freedoms? Like, how is it that difficult that the people do not understand that these people have invested interest in their own country? And it's mostly about finance. It's mostly about the Israeli lobby in the United States. And we fall for it over and over again. So I say to the Syrians, let them enjoy this freedom that they received now from Uncle Sam. And then sooner or later, they will realize what kind of trap they have fallen in. Chris, I wanted to go to the last part of this conversation, and that is the shift in the US, not only among the ordinary people, the public opinion of the ordinary people, but also very influential, let's say, commentators, podcasters, and I follow many of them on X and on YouTube, and I see it seems like a coalition and alliance of podcasters nowadays who consistently speak for really America first, and they say that we can't be Israel first and America first at the same time. We have Tucker, we have Candace, we have Representative Massey, for example, also. We have more radical voices like Fuentes. Do you see this as, a genuine shift? Because some people say, and they come to the live chat and they say, Kevork, this is a psyop. They're trying to absorb the anger of the people who are really upset and frustrated by this onslaught against the Palestinians, a televised genocide, with our money, with our weapons, and because of Israel. So they want people to speak against Israel to absorb this anger. You personally, how do you see this shift among these big influential people in the US?
Yes, Candace Owens, Tucker, Nick Fuentes, when they say things that are pro-American and, that we should be our own nation, take care of ourselves, we are not responsible for other nations, you can't disagree with that. It's good. I share it. I agree with it. I'll add my own comments to it on X. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, you don't know what their true motivations are. Because they are all well known, they are all connected to people that may use it just as a damper on the people, and then nothing changes in the end. So if it was Ron Paul, I would know that if Ron Paul was in power, he would do the right things. If it was
Yes.
Thomas Massey, I'm very confident, more than anyone else, perhaps Senator Paul too, that they would do the right things. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's wonderful what she's doing. Not as, if she had power, I'm not so sure would she go through with it without anybody, stopping her. I don't know. And this is very difficult. I can't say, I'm just a commentator myself. I'm sure the pressures are immense, but if you're one of those people in those positions, that's your duty, is to do the right thing despite any pressures that you may have. President Trump gets an F for that. His duty was America first, and he immediately discarded that. So while it's nice to see all of this backlash against Israel first, you don't know what the motivations afterwards are, because if you just end up with people that are going to continue it with a different wrapper, then you really have gone nowhere.
True. I'm not an American. I have a family in the United States, but had I been an American and I lived in the United States, I would end up with you guys for sure. That is absolutely out of question. I would end up with you. I would be in your team. And I truly see, because people, in my opinion, have nowadays enough social intellect to watch people, listen to them, and see whether they're genuine or not. And when you watch Ron Paul, for example, when you watch Chris, guys, and many others, you feel that these people are genuinely upset when about the whereabouts in their country, and there is no embedded interest, in this, and that is genuine, in my opinion, and many people should aspire. So many times I watch commentators in the U.S. You can clearly see that they have a certain agenda when they're talking. And I think we have developed this skill because we watch a lot nowadays. We see people's faces and how they react and how they say the words and the tone and everything. I think you cannot really hide that some people have invested interest. But I think for today's show, this was an amazing conversation with you, Chris. I'm really grateful that you dedicated this time for us. Guys, Chris's X account is in the description below. Please hit him a follow, and also the Ron Paul Institute link, also hit them a follow and amplify their voices. I think that's the easiest way to support voices like Chris in the public sphere of social media. Chris, thank you so much, my friend.
Kevork, thank you.
And thank you so much, guys, for tuning into today's stream. I appreciate all of you, whether you watch this on YouTube, on Rumble, and I will see you tomorrow at the same time. So peace be upon you, upon your families, and thank you so much, Red Access, for moderating the live chat. Late, but you came. And I will see you guys. Salam.